I almost feel like I should begin this online Christmas Mass by saying something like, we know you have a choice in online Christmas Masses, so we thank you for choosing Saints Beatrice and Maria Goretti. Because I'm sure there are many places out there today offering online Masses, so sincerely, truly, I thank you for choosing us, for joining us for Christmas. And so I want to begin again by wishing a very, to all of you and your loved ones, a very Merry Christmas and I can't forget this part, a blessed new year. I'm sure we're all praying for that, right? So I'm glad, again, that you could join us for this. And if you'll give me just a minute, I want to give just a brief update on our parish situation because I don't want to assume that everyone out there knows what has been happening at our parish over the last several months, even though I do try to regularly communicate and keep people updated. Even though we have been reopened since July, some people might just now be joining us for Christmas, which I understand. As I've said before, the obligation to attend Mass on Sundays and holy days is still currently dispensed by Cardinal Cupich. So many of you hopefully already know this, most of this, but Christmas is an opportunity for me to communicate to a wider audience, so I just want to give you some of the main updates. On October 1st of this year, our two parishes of St. Beatrice and St. Maria Goretti formally united into one new parish, as decreed by Cardinal Cupich. The Cardinal's decree also included the decision to move all the liturgies, beginning on this past November 28th, to one location, to the St. Beatrice campus. And for those who had been attending at St. Maria Goretti, this was obviously a very difficult and sad decision. The Cardinal's decree in August did not include a new name for our new parish, and that's because parishioners had not yet had the opportunity to suggest and vote on new names, which we did during the months of September and October. Now, we should have had our new name by now, but we don't. The short story is that the Presbyteral Council, which is made up of the auxiliary bishops and many priests of the Archdiocese, is required to consult with the Cardinal about the choices that we send, and the Cardinal can then make a decision only after he discusses it with them. And well, the Presbyteral Council did not come to a consensus at their November meeting, and they had too many other items on the agenda at their December meeting. So they will not be meeting with the Cardinal again until January 18th. So we will not have a new parish name before then. And just a reminder, the names that we did send to the Cardinal, based on parishioner suggestions and parishioner votes, were Our Lady of Unity, Holy Virgin Martyrs, Holy Archangels, and Saints Beatrice and Maria Goretti, which is our current name. It is a temporary name, unless that is the one that ends up being chosen by the Cardinal. Now, I just spent time talking about our parish situation, not only to keep everyone informed, but also because it has to do with my homily today. You see, I wanted to talk about what the gospel Christmas stories might have to say about our situation. And even though we are one new parish now, meaning that this is not St. Beatrice Parish or St. Maria Goretti Parish, the reality is that our new parish is made up of people who had been members of St. Beatrice and St. Maria Goretti. So I'll be referring to those two groups in my homily in order to make my point. So the gospel stories of Jesus' birth that we listen to every year at Christmas time, what light can those short stories shed on our parish situation? Because let's face it, this has been a difficult process. The Renew My Church process was first introduced in the whole Archdiocese around 5 years ago, and St. Beatrice and St. Maria Goretti began the process about a year and a half ago. And a lot of big changes and decisions were made, especially in the last 5 months. And if all that weren't enough, we and the rest of the world have been enduring this pandemic, which means that we haven't really been able to come together as a parish family since mid-March. So it's kind of like we were hit with two big punches. And as I was reflecting on our parish situation and how these past several months might have affected those who have come from St. Beatrice and those who have come from St. Maria Goretti, what I thought about was the Holy Family and about what they endured at that first Christmas when Christ was born. You see, one message that I would like to share with those of you who are joining us from St. Maria Goretti is, I know that you might feel like you're away from home. This is the first year that Christmas is not being celebrated at St. Maria Goretti Church. And no one ever wants to feel separated from home, especially at Christmas. And while I cannot change the situation or take that pain away, I do think it's worth pointing out that on that first Christmas over 2,000 years ago, on that one night in history when Jesus was born, Mary and Joseph were not home. In fact, they were far from their home. Remember, Mary and Joseph were from Nazareth, and Luke's gospel tells us that they had to travel to Bethlehem to take part in the Roman census, but also because the prophecy had said that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. And it's not like there was a flat paved road that went directly from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Their journey would have been around 90 miles, and it would have taken several days over rough terrain. So Mary and Joseph were far from home at Christmas on that most holy night. But the important thing was, Jesus was still with them, wherever they were. Jesus was with them in Mary's womb for every mile of their journey to Bethlehem. Jesus was with them when they fled to Egypt after he was born. And Jesus was with them when they returned to Nazareth. So whether they were at home or in another town or in another nation, Jesus was always with them. And for those who are joining us from St. Beatrice, the message I would like to share with you comes from another part of the Gospel Christmas story. We all know what happened when Mary and Joseph did finally arrive at Bethlehem. There was no room for them in the inn. They were not welcomed anywhere, even though their situation called for compassion, as Mary was 9 months pregnant. So our Savior ended up being born in a manger. And even though that certainly fit into God's plan, because our God always identifies with the poor and the lowly, the fact still remains that Mary and Joseph were not welcomed. And so my message to those who are from St. Beatrice is, we could never overestimate the importance of the virtue of hospitality, which is really an extension of the greatest of all virtues, charity. And so everyone should feel welcome at this new parish. My friends, I know that this has been a very difficult year for our parish and for our world. But let's remember that one of the core messages of Christmas is that Christ will never leave us, no matter where we are. And that is because he is one of us. And because his Spirit resides in each one of us, we are all part of the family of God, which in a local way is represented by this parish family. So, however and wherever you might be celebrating Christmas this year, I hope that you and your loved ones will experience Christ's presence in your lives through one another and through the beautiful truth that is communicated to us by the manger scene, that our God came into our world to not only be with us for all our lives, but for all eternity.